My name is Grant Browning, and I'm the founder of one of Toronto's largest Caribbean media groups. With over 20 years of branding and marketing, you can guarantee that I've met some pretty amazing people. My biggest pet peeve is hearing people refer to successful entrepreneurs as overnight successes. But the truth is, there are no overnight successes, just entrepreneurs. Real entrepreneurs with big dreams and a desire to make a difference. They're willing to overcome all the odds just for a chance to taste success. That's exactly what this show is about. Business, success, strategies, the dreams, the struggles, and the victories. We're here to pack a hard punch and knock our dreams into reality by bringing you real stories and experiences right here on The Gloves Are Off. Welcome to another edition of The Gloves Are Off, and we are back after a 3-week break, and I have an amazing guest here. I'm excited. She is a personal friend. I've known her for many years. Sheila Trecartin. I can't even say your name. Really? Sheila Trecartin is from Cookstown, Ontario. She is a renowned communicator with animals and humans. She's a certified reflexologist and a Reiki
Correct,
did I say
Reiki.
right? Reiki Master and teacher, and she offers services to humans as well as animals. And today we're going to learn about everything there is to know about following your intuition and your gut feeling in business. So Sheila, welcome. Thank you very much for being a guest. I've been looking forward to this.
I know. I haven't seen you in ages, so this is a great treat for me.
Yeah, Sheila literally just walked into the door. We prepped her for 2 seconds, and then we got on. So I haven't even had time to catch up or anything. So you're getting it raw and uncut right here on The Gloves Are Off. So why don't you tell people a little bit about what you do, first off? Because when people hear animal communicator, human communicator, they don't know maybe what that is. So why don't you explain?
It can be kind of confusing and sort of like a little bit leaves prey to a lot of miscommunication or confusion as to what that could possibly be. So what I do is I'm a holistic therapist, and I work with people and animals doing healing, doing mediumship, which is communicating with those who have crossed over, both people and animals. I do intuitive business consulting, which is why we're here today. I do a lot of different healing modalities, and I also do spiritual counseling.
Okay.
So that is helping people in their life to understand what their life lessons are and what direction they need to take.
Wow. So I know when I first met Sheila, she was, what would you call it, executive business coach kind of thing, intuitive executive business coach with one of the mentors that I had. And she used to come in and she would do counseling for any type of businesses that he was looking into buying. So maybe you can give people an idea of what that would be like, what would be entailed in that and what you were doing maybe.
When I do work with someone who is interested in consulting with business work, I am looking at, sometimes it's more, in that case that example that you just offered, that was about looking at the business itself and seeing if the business had the structure or what was required to gather that business and then create it or build it into something successful. Did it have the capability? What were the flags? What things did we need to change? What about the staffing? What was the financial status? Even beyond, I work from a sense of more spiritual perspective and intuition. So it's what I see and what I feel in the energy around the business. And that can vary depending on the choices or free will of people. In those cases, it would be, here's the flags I see at this point, and here's what you need to do to make that a viable business. Or here's why I would stay away from that business.
And it was funny because I remember you had given a lot of advice which he didn't follow at the time, and it was like a complete disaster after what happened. And it was almost like you were sitting there, and it's probably the wrong terminology, but it was like I told you so kind of thing, right? So it was almost like a kid.
Yeah, he was a tough nut because, basically I would give him information and then he would go, nah, that doesn't sound logical, so I'm just going to do my own thing. And he had every right to do that. He was paying me, so he could take whatever he wanted from the information. But yes, afterwards, he started to go, I think I'll pay a little bit closer attention to what you're saying. And even with people, because he was bringing on different people that I was warning him about in different ways as far as their capabilities or maybe their motives. And he was also making
Bad
alternative
decisions
in that area, and learned from that as well.
So how did you get started in this?
Oh, that's interesting. Started in the holistic field as from a young age, I was able to feel and see things. So I would have premonitions, I would have feelings about people. I had a really difficult time actually, because a lot of times people don't actually say what they think and they don't say what they mean. So sometimes when I was younger and I was listening to people speak, I would be, that's not what's in your brain, or that's not what's in your heart. And so I had a real difficult time trusting people. And as I grew up, I didn't know what to do with that. And it was, basically, it was brutal in a lot of cases, where there was a lot of times where I felt frightened or confused and nowhere to turn. And as I got older, different events happened in my life. And when I was about 18, well, at the age of 17, I had a life-altering event where someone close to me passed away. And then I actually had insight into that occurring. And although I stopped my life at that point for about 6 months and just almost gave up, to be honest with you, I went back to that root of going, there must be a reason for this. And so I started studying in the holistic field at the age of 18, trying to understand and control what I had, to use it for what I would call the powers of good rather than the powers of evil, so to speak. So standing in the light and rather than the shadow. And at the age of 18, when that shifted, I was in grade 12 and I was planning on taking psychology. The person who passed away, we had set our life together. We were planning on getting married. I was going to take psychology in university, and then everything got pulled out from underneath me. Basically, I lost my stability, and then I had to make some choices in that year. And I opted to go with what was easy, actually. I took the easy way out, and I said, okay, well, I can't not continue in my life. I have to do something. So I opted to stay in the hometown that I was in rather than going out of town, which was my original plan. And I opted to take business because all through high school, business was very easy for me. And I ended up taking business in school and then went back into the holistic field, opened my own business when I was 27, many years ago. And at that point, I realized that I could couple my interest in business and my logical side with my intuitive abilities by doing business consulting. And I specialize in small business development because I love that startup feel, developing things, and also taking businesses who are struggling and bringing them into a space of success.
What was that like when you first started to realize some of the things that, like the different ways you can communicate and stuff like that? Did you doubt yourself, think that maybe you were going crazy or anything like that? Or?
Oh, yeah. It was, well, on one hand, like I had it from when I was a child.
Yeah.
So when I did recognize it wasn't something that everybody else did naturally, that was, I think, the part where it became more intimidating for me, more uncomfortable, because I felt very weird, very odd.
Yeah.
I didn't fit in. So it was very uncomfortable, and it was quite a struggle all through my younger years.
Was it something that you kind of kept hidden from everybody else?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. I had a couple instances where weird occurrences happened where, I was young. I can't remember, maybe 12 or 14, and we were walking back from roller skating, if you remember roller skating. And
that's the thing with the 4 wheels, right? Yeah, I remember that.
Not 2 wheels or 3 wheels, but we have 4. So basically, we were walking from roller skating. I was walking with 3 other friends. All of a sudden, an ambulance goes by us, and I just started running. And my friends were like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "There's a boy drowning in the lake. There's a boy drowning in the lake." And they were like, "What are you talking about?" And they followed me. And I ran right to the place where they pulled the boy out of the lake. And I lost 3 friends that day. Only one of them continued to speak with me after that because they couldn't understand what happened. And really, I couldn't explain it either. I had no idea how I knew that. So things like that would happen, and sometimes beyond my control, without me being able to, I guess, explain them to people and identify it for myself. And it was very confusing.
I bet.
I suppressed it. I really tried to get rid of it.
Yeah.
To me, it didn't seem like a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then I guess as you got older, you started to realize that you can bring it out and do good in the world?
Yes, after I basically shut it down and then learned how to reopen it, we'll call it, and learned how to control it, for lack of a better word, because you never really control it 100%. But I learned how to turn it on and off when I wanted it to. So I could go out in public and I didn't feel overwhelmed. I could function in everyday society and I wasn't coming home drained. So I learned to, I guess the analogy I use is more like a dimmer switch on a light. I learned to turn it up to whatever I needed it in the moment, and then turn it down when I didn't. And that helped me a great deal.
So how do you, like, for someone that experiences some of those things that you do, that doesn't necessarily know how to turn it up or down, what type of techniques would be good for that?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question. It's about identifying the energy itself.
Okay.
And about mastering your own energy. So we have energy centers in our body which create or are the basis of the flow of energy in our system. And they're called chakras. So that's where I tell people to start. Start with understanding the chakra system and being able to recognize when your system is not balanced. So we want to become masters of our energy centers, and we want to be able to balance and center in those areas at any given time. And then we want to be able to move to any center that is required in any given moment. So if I'm working in business, I'm going to come down to my lower centers, because my top centers are more for intuition, and my lower are for more concrete or logical things, more earth-based things in this life.
Okay.
So I would teach them how to function within those centers and apply it to whatever they're doing in the moment. So it's about really understanding and knowing yourself. It's definitely an inner journey.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I bet. And I mean, being able to identify, I mean, I guess it's more about being self-aware and self-conscious of what's happening within you.
Perfect words. I couldn't have said that any better. It's almost like you know this stuff.
Me? No.
You have great intuition. Absolutely.
Okay.
We've talked about that before.
You're giving away my secrets. We're going to be right back. We're going to take a quick break and stay tuned. Hey guys, Grant here from Care 101 Media Group, and this is an outreach video going out to everybody with a request for assistance on your part. As you guys know, there's a lot of devastation that happened in the islands because of Hurricane Irma. There are families that are hugely displaced. Some islands are over 95% inhabitable, and people are reaching out to us, asking us where they can either give products or aid or finances, and at the time we didn't know where to go.
So in order to aid in relief efforts, Care 101 Media Group has started up a GoFundMe page where the community can now go and help submit donations in order to help rebuild the infrastructure that's been damaged due to Hurricane Irma. So, you know, going to the page, donating like at least $5, $10, even $50 isn't very much, but it will help, you know, our Caribbean brothers, sisters, families, friends in helping rebuild their homes.
There's also a call for certain donation items as well, which are personal hygiene products they're looking for. They're requesting things like baby diapers, baby food, clothing, things like toiletry, personal hygiene products, garbage bags, disinfectants, so that they can help with the cleanup. So at our office at 55 Rutherford Road South, Unit 205 in Brampton, we are set up to receive your donations there. So instead, you know, if you'd like to donate some items versus donating money, please come on over to the office here in Brampton. We'd be more than happy to accept your donations. We will be getting it together in about 2 weeks, and I believe the date would be September 21st that we'd like to turn the items over to the Consulate General Office for Antigua, where they'll be shipping it down to Barbuda for distribution there.
Now keep in mind too that as much as it's nice to give toiletry products and stuff like this, they also have to try and get it down there. But a lot of these islands have been so hugely devastated that they need money to rebuild and get supplies and stuff like that. So we're kindly asking that if you can please, if it's $5, $10, $15, $20, please donate, because that's what they need the most. They need to start rebuilding their infrastructure, rebuilding homes, and creating shelters for these people that are displaced. So again, if you can help, we greatly appreciate it. It's perfect here where we are right now, and we can only imagine what families are going through, not having homes, losing all their possessions, and literally not having anything that they know as home around them. And we are back with The Gloves Are Off. If you're just tuning in, we have Sheila Trecartin in from Cookstown, Ontario. Sheila is renowned for being an animal communicator and a human communicator as well. She does intuitive consulting for business and for the regular person, I guess you'd call them.
Absolutely.
And she does it as a profession. This is her everyday life. Personally, we've used her over the years. She's become a personal friend, and she gets results, which is very, very important. So if you're just tuning in, today we're talking about following your intuitiveness
Sure.
and your gut feeling in business. This is something that I found that even personally being in business has taken me like exactly where we wanted to go by following our gut feeling. So maybe you can go into it a little bit about why the importance and why we sometimes second guess it and go with logic.
Oh, yes, that's a good question. I like that one. Well, you know, we can easily second guess our intuition. The intuition comes from the solar plexus or the gut. That's why we say it's a gut instinct, because it comes from that space at the base of the ribs, which is known as the solar plexus. So we want to pay attention that when we receive information, that's where we're working from, and not from the ego. And the
Which
ego
can kick in sometimes, right?
It's a brilliant thing. It helps us a lot in our lives, but the ego shouldn't be dismissed. I mean, sometimes it has a lot of valid points.
Mm-hmm.
But mainly you want to go, okay, what is my gut saying? And why is it saying that? So you can use your logic or your ego to evaluate the intuition. But sometimes the gut knows and the mind can't rationalize. So it's very important to follow that, because it's never wrong. It may be amplified, I guess, at times, and you may think it's far worse than what it actually is, because it's an energetic response to something.
Mm-hmm.
But mainly, if you follow it, you're going to see great results, as you know, because of where you've come in the last many years, I guess it is now, but you've come so far just following your intuition.
For sure. For somebody that may not understand what we're talking about, what are some of the things that they can use to identify the feelings, and where does it come from? Like the energy itself.
Let's teach you.
Perfect.
Okay. So this is what I do with people when they go, I don't even know what's my instinct or what my gut, my intuition feels like. And I tell them, okay, you're going to take one hand, put it on your stomach.
Okay.
And you're going to look for a positive reaction. So we're going to make a statement that's positive. So you're going to say, my name is Grant. And then you're going to take a deep breath, and you're going to feel in your stomach or in your gut and see if you can identify a subtle response.
Okay. My name is Grant. Okay.
And now you're going to use a negative statement, so something that's not true. So my name is Penelope, for example.
Do I have to use that?
Yeah, you can use whatever you like.
Okay. My name is Bruce. Yeah.
Can you feel the difference?
It changes your breathing pattern too, because you kind of
Yes.
like almost second guess or second breathe kind of thing.
So the positive, your name,
Yep.
is your yes.
Okay.
And the negative, Bruce or Penelope, would be your no.
Okay.
And for me, it's like little butterflies for yes, and it actually goes up to my throat and is like a lump in my throat for no.
Okay.
So some people will notice, like you said, it's like a fluctuation in the breath. It's just your body has all the answers. It knows, because it's reading the energy of what you're saying. So if you make a statement and you want to know if that's positive or negative, if it's a yes or no, then you can just do that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find out for yourself what your intuition is saying. After you get used to that subtle response, you can do it without sitting and consciously holding your stomach and really focusing. You can just kind of think about it, and you'll identify in the abdomen whether that's a positive or a negative.
Now, for all the viewers that are tuned in right now, and there's obviously going to be some sort of disbelief and stuff like that. I know there's another way that you can actually test energy too, and that's the stress test with your arm or whatever. If
Muscle testing.
Yeah, muscle
Yes.
test.
Or
Maybe you can explain
kinesiology.
that, so that way
Yes.
people understand that the energy itself can actually have a positive and negative effect, right?
Absolutely. We can use muscle testing in order to see if our muscles are responding in a positive, which is a strength mode,
Mm-hmm.
or a negative, which is a weak mode.
Okay.
So any muscle break will cause a weakness, which is a negative, which is a no. Anything that's a strength would be a positive, which is a yes. You can use that basically in any case. What the key would be to have a clear mind. If you're not focusing and you don't have a clear mind, then you're not going to get a valid response. So you have to sit being clear-minded and ask the question and then test the muscles.
You want to try it out?
Sure.
Okay, how about instead of me, so that way it doesn't look like I'm actually doing it on purpose?
I can do it on myself.
Let's do it with Chelsea. We'll get Chelsea here. Yeah, come on, Chelsea.
We're going to bring her in, are we?
Yeah, the camera doesn't have to move, so she can come quickly. So let's.
She looks happy about this.
Yeah, well, I mean, her mind's clear. She's just worried about her sniffled nose. So.
Okay, so I'm going to get you to sit down.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can muscle test on other people.
Sure.
Yeah, we can muscle test on ourselves. So if we're testing on Chelsea, are you left-handed or right-handed?
Right-handed.
Okay, so we're going to use your left arm at this point.
Don't hit me.
We're going to ask you to remove your watch as well, because the watch can affect your energetic system.
Okay.
It can actually weaken your system, which is interesting. So you want to sit facing straight ahead, eyes straight ahead, no expression on your face if possible. And you want to resist when I tell you. So we're gonna put your arm up a little bit higher. So I'm just using 2 fingers. I'm using light pressure.
Yep.
And we're just going to ask her a question that she will know the answer to is a positive. So I want you to say, "My name is Chelsea."
My name is Chelsea.
Good. And resist. Keep thinking about that.
Do you like working here?
Don't confuse her. Oh, I think that was a no. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So when we get resistance, that's a yes.
Okay.
And if we get a break, that's a no. So again, we could use "My name is Sarah."
My name is Sarah.
And resist. Do you feel the difference in your...
Okay.
Yeah? So you can see when you're weak and when you're strong.
Yeah.
And another way that we can demonstrate this is I could stand and tell you, "Oh my gosh, you're so pretty. I love your eyes. They sparkle. And you have such a brilliant smile. Actually, you're really friendly. I noticed that right away when I met you." Now I can test you. So now try to resist. Okay, so we're getting a little bit stronger response. Now if I said, "Actually, you know what? I thought you were a little kind of crusty when I came in, and you're a little mean, and I didn't like the way you looked at me."
Were you here before?
Oh, she was looking at you like that, right? But, but if we test that now,
Yeah.
okay. Now resisting. Do you feel how much weaker you are?
So weird, yeah.
So this is how we can show that when we give people positive or we give ourselves positive self-talk, or we talk to other people positively, we can physically make them stronger. And when we give them negative, we physically make them weaker.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
That's a good physical example. What do you think?
Yeah, that was weird.
You sold on that?
Yeah.
And
you
if
for
you were
being
here
our
in
guinea pig
studio,
there.
Sheila's so powerful, the studio's shaking right now. So as you guys can see, it has a lot to do with the energies and the muscle reflexes. We wanted to use Chelsea so that way we can do someone who is not usually in a show, so it doesn't look like it's scripted. How can someone use these type of skills and methods in business?
The first thing I'm going to reiterate, though, is if somebody wants to try that, it's not as easy as what you just saw.
No,
for
sure.
There's a lot of different concepts to it that we would really need to understand. So, of course, go to a practitioner who can assist and train properly.
Like Sheila.
Thank you. But yes, you could use that in everyday life, and you can use it in business, you can use it in relationships, you can use it with finances, you can use it with health. In business, it can help because when you're making a decision, you can use yourself as the person who is testing, or you can use a surrogate to assist. Mm-hmm. So like we did just now, we can use someone else who doesn't have any concept of what we're asking or any kind of no bias as to what's going to occur. Mm-hmm, and we can ask them, and their muscles will react, and that will give us a true answer. If we do ourselves, sometimes we can intrude because we have a wish or desire that can impact that as well. Because it goes based on your mind reaction when you're doing it yourself. So if you're not clear of thought, or even the person that you're working on, if Chelsea wasn't clear of thought, it would be difficult because it's going to respond to her thoughts in her mind. Her arm, her strength or her weakness is going to respond to that.
See? So Chelsea isn't like deep in thought and anything, so we're good. So the business
I'd be
owner.
careful. I think she's a valuable tool for
oh,
you.
she is. I pick on her all the time. Chelsea's awesome. Make sure you guys follow her graphic media on social media. She does awesome work. As an entrepreneur, having these feelings, I remember one time when we were talking, you were talking about one of my mentors, and you had a message for him personally, and you had told him that, this was when I was first learning about a lot of this stuff, and you're like, listen, you have to tell him that he needs to go with his gut feeling, and I'm looking at Sheila kind of funny, right? And Sheila was saying, no, like if you're at a stop sign and your gut is telling you to go left, but logically you're saying, no, I'm supposed to go right, and he needs to follow the turn left. So an entrepreneur, we're bombarded tons, like with so much information, so much things going on. How can we hone in on this? Like is there any type of habits or any type of exercises we can do where we can kind of really learn to pay attention to ourselves and what we think when it comes to business?
Absolutely. Just as you stated before, self-awareness is the key.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to start there, and we want to calm the mind, because a racing mind is not where we're going to get true gut reactions or gut response. So we want to calm the mind. We can use meditation, which seems to be very popular at this time, more so than ever before. Most people understand that concept. And that is a way of just clearing the mind or controlling the mind, allowing the mind, or not controlling the mind, allowing the mind to just be free so that it's not shackled or chained by our thoughts. And what happens is when we're thinking, we have an extreme amount of energy that's going through because we have emotional response to those thoughts. And we're triggering or firing our cells every time we're having a thought. Mm-hmm. We trigger it, we fire it by an emotional reaction to the thoughts. So oftentimes if you're sitting in stress or you're sitting in fear, then that's going to weaken your ability to make decisions that are going to be positively impactful for you. So practicing things like meditation, even doing exercises with even stretching or basic yoga exercises, Tai Chi, Qigong, these are all things that balance the energetic body.
Define yoga. Not yoga.
That one
Meditation.
I can't do.
Meditation, not yoga. You had to watch the last show. Define meditation. So, like, is it just sitting in a quiet place, or is it like, I remember when I was younger, I used to think yoga was like what you see on TV, kind of thing, right? So.
Yes, exactly. Well, there are different types of meditation.
Sure.
And one of the best types of meditation to begin with, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, would be a mindfulness meditation. So that is just stopping the mind thoughts, or attempting to. It's a lot harder task than what I'm just suggesting. But when you're doing anything, just being actually physically present and mentally present in doing that task. For example, when you're doing the dishes, you're just doing the dishes. Mm-hmm. You're not thinking about what you're doing tomorrow or what your friend said to you or the conversation you had earlier. You are physically and mentally just doing the dishes. And that's a practice, in a very short explanation, mm-hmm. about mindfulness and just being present in the moment. And when you're present in the moment, then your mind isn't distracted, and you can allow yourself to pick up those subtle energies that are around you, that instinct that's coming through. But if you're preoccupied in your mind, then you're not going to be able to pick up those subtleties. You're going to be thinking about, hey, that was a great party I had the other night. And you're not going to get that intuition of, you should invest in that stock, or you should make that business choice that's coming through to you, because you're too preoccupied with those other mind thoughts, which are usually not healthy or productive. Mm-hmm. So if you can direct the mind thought, that is very beneficial.
For sure, for sure. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll find out more.
Think you have what it takes to bring value to the community? The TCN TV network is expanding and now accepting TV show proposals. Here's an opportunity to build celebrity status and become part of an elite group of community advocates that are focused on building, strengthening, and empowering our community in a positive way. Are you interested in embarking on a new adventure? TCN TV is searching for people interested in opportunities to change the conversation and pave an unforgettable legacy. If you feel you have something of value to offer, send a written show proposal to shows@mytcntv.com.
Welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, we were just talking about intuition in business and following your gut. Before we went to break, we were talking quickly about the business owner and being so full of thoughts, and I know that I'm like that, and if I don't find a way to clear my head, at least take that break. So at the beginning of the year, after we did our last event, right after that, I went, and for me, tranquility is the woods, the outdoors, nature.
Yeah.
And I found this secluded cottage, and Trish humored me because it didn't even have a bathroom in it, but it was amazing. And for 4 days we were there, and I literally was able to clear my head and figure out what I wanted to do for the rest of the year and really become very focused. A lot of people don't realize the importance in that.
Oh, yes. We live in a rat race. I mean, in society, we work far more than we play. I think we have it backwards, by the way. I think we should change that. I think we should be off 5 days and work 2.
Yeah.
Can we change that somehow? Well, you made a good point, actually. We talked about yoga, meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong. We didn't talk about the everyday average things that you could do just to make yourself feel better and reduce the stress and clear the mind thoughts. And you just mentioned one, know yourself, know what works for you. Is it the wilderness, like you said? Is it water? Lots of people love water and they feel so rejuvenated and cleansed when they're near water. Is it exercise? Is it music? Is it doing something artistic? Is it just sitting and staring at the wall? What is it? I mean, I know for me, I work so much. I work like 12 and 14-hour days. So I work a lot, and then I will take a break. And I love to sit on the beach and just watch and listen to the waves. And I read a book. And that's the way that I get my recharge. And it's my break from society and my break from all that noise and that high energy. So that's definitely something that we need to pay attention to. Recognize what makes us feel clear and calm, but also then what fuels us, because we got to get back in and get back into that game and start playing again, right? So we have to recognize that as well.
I remember too, years ago you had said to me when we were working like 14, 15-hour days, and we were just talking about this morning, it was mainly sitting down, right? Like it was always in front of the computer, and you used to tell me like you really got to learn to listen to your body and take that break and just take 5-minute breaks and walk around the building, just get the blood flowing, get yourself moving. So I mean, listening to yourself in that aspect too, I think is really important as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely, not getting lost in the everyday pressures, because as an entrepreneur or small business owner, we are nonstop. I mean, we are everything. So we need to make sure that we take care of all of the necessities of business. And there's maybe few people, or not that many, or maybe just us, who are all that we rely on to get the job done. So we forget that, and we just keep plowing away, and we forget to stop and take a break. And I love what you just said, and I'm glad I reminded you of that. We should probably record that, and you should send that to me probably once a week, because I'm guilty of that as well.
I wanted to ask you quickly, so people our viewers are now seeing what knowledge you have and how to do it as a business and stuff like that, and your expertise. So why don't you, in a nutshell, give people an idea of your business and the services that you offer and how you can benefit the business owner?
With the intuitive business, I offer a couple different services. Now, usually we do spiritual counseling or intuitive business consulting. They become one and the same because we are a reflection of our work. No matter if we're the CEO of a large company or we are just starting out in a business, our personal attributes and our experiences affect us. So I often go into clearing the person so that the business, which is a reflection of the person, can feel a influence in that way. So I will sit with people and we will do spiritual consulting or business intuition. We identify what's going on in the energy, and I read the energy of the here and now. And so I can understand how to assist them. I'll evaluate what do they need in that business, what do they need in themselves to make that business more successful. And well, first of all, what direction would they like to go in? And if they don't know what direction, then we'd better make a plan. But everything is about, structure, sustainability, communication. You want to make sure that you're aware of the finances, that you have a plan for sure. And I work in all of that, right from a business plan, right down to intuition about who to select for certain employees. I can play the name game, I call it, and you can give me a name of someone and I can tell you the attributes of that person and what their strengths and weaknesses are and if they would be good in that seat on the bus, so to speak, in your company. So there's a bunch of different ways that I can assist when we're working with a company or a small business owner.
So let me ask you this, because I already know your answers anyways, but how could you help me with your service?
You don't need any help.
Okay.
Okay.
Say you don't know me.
No,
right?
yes, actually, you know what? It's interesting because what I would do, I would tune into the here and now. And you and I, we actually haven't seen each other for quite some time, and we really haven't talked that greatly. So what I can do is just tune into the energy of what's going on around you. And when I tune into that energy, I'm getting pictures, feeling sensations, and I hear words in my head. And I put that all together to make a package of something that makes logical sense to you.
For sure.
And so it's basically just being a translator. I translate the energy that I'm receiving and I translate it into our English language so that you can understand what the guides or what the universe is trying to say. And if I tap into you right now, I can see actually, I don't know if it's okay to share this, but I see that coming into your energy field is an opportunity to do some kind of travel business. And it's evaluation of travel and also travel documentation, like looking at, I guess what would that sort of like a travel magazine or a travel site where people could go and they can get insight on to where they could travel to. And you would have partners, business partners, that you would get a kickback on getting people to book in their location. Okay. So I see that coming for you in your future. And that, I think, would be a very viable business. As we work with in the internet now, we can pretty much book our own trips, but we don't always, water.
Yep.
We don't always have the insight as to, is that the best place for us to go?
Sure. Where
if you have people who go and evaluate those travel destinations and you give heads up about, hey, pay attention to this, or this is a good thing to do while you're there, go see Chico at the bar, those kinds of things, then that would be beneficial as a business and beneficial for people too. That was a service that they would utilize for sure.
For sure.
You could even do a travel TV show.
I'm going to ask an obvious question, but why should someone do business with you?
I don't think anyone should do business with me.
I do.
I think they should. I think it's more of a personal choice. If they feel drawn to working with me, if they feel called to that, then absolutely I'm there 100%. I don't convince anybody to try and work with me because I do believe that we have that energetic pull in the spaces where it's appropriate for us. So I'd suggest they use their gut instinct or their intuition to see if I'm the right person for them. But there's not a lot of people who do what I do in this way. There's a lot of business consultants out there, but they don't actually use spiritual insight or intuition in order to get that information. And all the people I'm happy to report that I've worked with have great success. Including you.
Actually, we've worked with Sheila. I've known you almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, Sheila has seen us. I know we've had a few shows with Trish where we've told my story, and we've gone from living in a what was that? It was a 3-bedroom hole-in-the-wall apartment with mold and everything like that, and really being down in the dumps for a long time. And we've gone through taking a lot of Sheila's advice, and with her intuitiveness, we've gone to where the company is today. Her I would say 99% of the guidance that Sheila's ever given has actually helped and delivered results, and it's very rare to see that, especially with business coaches, because a lot of people just go basically on book smarts, where Sheila works with intuitiveness and your guides and whatnot. So
Yes. Well, I
So,
do couple it with the logic.
publicly, I
because-
want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure. It's been wonderful to be able to watch you grow, and you have grown so greatly. It's just amazing for me to be able to contribute in that way. And although I contribute and I offer the information, the people are the ones who do the work. Those business owners are the ones, like yourself, who have actually taken that information and applied it. I mean, you and Trish are go-getters, and without that, you wouldn't have a business, no matter what I told you.
For sure.
So you have
for
to
sure.
keep that in mind for sure.
Sheila always used to say, I'd come back with like a checklist, and you just let me, I'm surprised you listened.
Yes.
With that, I'm going to listen. We got to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Hey guys, Grant here from Care 101 Media Group, and this is an outreach video going out to everybody with a request for assistance on your part. As you guys know, there's a lot of devastation that happened in the islands because of Hurricane Irma. There are families that are hugely displaced. Some islands are over 95% inhabitable, and people are reaching out to us, asking us where they can either give products or aid or finances, and at the time we didn't know where to go.
So in order to aid in relief efforts, Care 101 Media Group has started up a GoFundMe page where the community can now go and help submit donations in order to help rebuild the infrastructure that's been damaged due to Hurricane Irma. So, you know, going to the page, donating like at least $5, $10, even $50 isn't very much, but it will help, you know, our Caribbean brothers, sisters, families, friends in helping rebuild their homes.
There's also a call for certain donation items as well, which are personal hygiene products they're looking for. They're requesting things like baby diapers, baby food, clothing, things like toiletry, personal hygiene products, garbage bags, disinfectants, so that they can help with the cleanup. So at our office at 55 Rutherford Road South, Unit 205 in Brampton, we are set up to receive your donations there. So instead, you know, if you'd like to donate some items versus donating money, please come on over to the office here in Brampton. We'd be more than happy to accept your donations. We will be getting it together in about 2 weeks, and I believe the date would be September 21st that we'd like to turn the items over to the Consulate General Office for Antigua, where they'll be shipping it down to Barbuda for distribution there.
Now keep in mind too that as much as it's nice to give toiletry products and stuff like this, they also have to try and get it down there. But a lot of these islands have been so hugely devastated that they need money to rebuild and get supplies and stuff like that. So we're kindly asking that if you can please, if it's $5, $10, $15, $20, please donate, because that's what they need the most. They need to start rebuilding their infrastructure, rebuilding homes, and creating shelters for these people that are displaced. So again, if you can help, we greatly appreciate it. It's perfect here where we are right now, and we can only imagine what families are going through, not having homes, losing all their possessions, and literally not having anything that they know as home around them.
Think you have what it takes to bring value to the community? The TCN TV Network is expanding and now accepting TV show proposals. Here's an opportunity to build celebrity status and become part of an elite group of community advocates that are focused on building, strengthening, and empowering our community in a positive way. Are you interested in embarking on a new adventure? TCN TV is searching for people interested in opportunities to change the conversation and pave an unforgettable legacy. If you feel you have something of value to offer, send a written show proposal to shows@mytcntv.com.
Welcome back, and we're here with Sheila Trecartin on Gloves Are Off. I can't even talk today. Like, things aren't even pronouncing right, as you can see in the video too. So we are talking about intuition in business and following your gut feeling. I remember when I first started to really pay attention to it, it was short, I would say about a year before I met you. And I remember coming to Trish and, you know, things just didn't seem right when, certain things would happen, situations would arise, a customer was avoiding us or something like that. How, I feel like, because sometimes we bury that emotion, sometimes we bury that feeling. We really need to get across why it's important, why people should really follow the intuition, and maybe why they should maybe get in contact with you, and maybe you can work with them a little bit to kind of do some clearing so they can understand a little bit more about, themselves and these feelings that they get.
Yes, like you, I would ideally love to work with people where I can help them along, but teach them how to do this themselves, so that eventually they don't really need me unless they're getting in a really stressful and confusing situation and they need that outside clarity. But my goal is definitely to empower others to be able to make their own choices from that intuitive perspective. And we can't forget the logic. I mean, logic plays a definite role in it as well. That's why if you have both worlds and you couple them together, it's so much more powerful.
For sure.
But definitely people, they can do this themselves, and they can work with it on a daily basis. They don't have to rely on somebody else. The difference would be to, yes, like we keep just going back to that same thing of clear the stress, clear the mind, and you'll be able to know what is right and what is wrong for you. You mentioned kind of an interesting thing. You talked about, sometimes you would question a customer, for example, and whether there was validity in what they were saying. And you get that little kind of aching thing inside that says, don't trust this, don't let them go without paying, or don't let them get away with that. So that is definitely the intuition kicking in. And we always, how often has it been where you've made a choice and you didn't listen to your intuition, and then you kick yourself because you see the reality of it unfold and recognize, I knew that. I knew that. It's right down from the point of, dealing with an employee, dealing with a customer, making a financial decision, purchasing equipment. It can come in all aspects of business. The intuition flows.
You were saying too, because we recently had to make a personal decision over things too, and I remember red flags started to come. You started getting that gut feeling. Something was said, and it was like, I mean, if you looked at it, it was like getting slapped in the face with a red flag, like pay attention kind of thing. And we had to make that instant decision. Sometimes looking at as a business owner or as an entrepreneur, I find like we don't want to, because we're happy being complacent sometimes, right? And especially as an entrepreneur, sometimes if it works, you don't want to change it. And in this situation, we were very complacent, but I'm very grateful for what has happened now, because it's actually pushed us to grow again. So sometimes, these if you don't pay attention to those red flags, obviously it gets worse and worse and worse, to the point where it's that emergency situation where you have to respond. We were just talking about that. Or if you are paying attention enough to what's happening, then all of a sudden you can make that move ahead of everything, and great things come out of it.
Yeah, fear really blinds us, and that debilitating emotion will block us from making choices that are much more beneficial to us, or it sometimes makes us freeze. I mean, we either fight, flight, or freeze. So you have to pay attention to what you're doing in those situations, and why is that happening. And that's sometimes why you need an outside person to give you clarity. Truly, an entrepreneur usually is not afraid of making mistakes. I mean, that's why they're entrepreneurs. I mean, they keep trying and trying and trying until something works. And that's the beauty of it.
But sometimes people, that fear thing that you talked about too, sometimes people are scared to make that move. They know what the right decision is, but they're afraid to. What type of advice can you offer for that?
Yeah, it's a lot easier when you're talking like small potatoes rather than big ones. So the more sense of opportunity for loss, the more difficult it is to commit to a decision. That's for sure. And then that's why we would look for someone else's opinion. And sometimes you'll see people, especially small business owners, entrepreneurs, and they're out running around going, well, what do you think about this? Well, what do you think about that? And then they do something entirely different. But
the opinion of they.
Exactly. But that helps us, speaking externally, helps us to understand internally what we would like to do and how we feel about things. So again, going back to knowing the self, listening to what other people say, and then finding the value of truth in that, or what resonates with us, is very beneficial. Playing out the scenarios in your mind and going, okay, if I do this, what is likely going to happen, or what's my instinct tell me is where's that going to lead me to, and is that where I want to go? A lot of times it's very interesting, because just because people are intuitive or they have strong business instincts doesn't mean that they're good business owners. They don't have a plan, they don't have a destination point, and if you don't have a destination point, sometimes you don't even know what the destination is or what you would like it to be, but trying to make even the closest point that you can, the next step, is very beneficial for us.
For sure, for sure. Wow.
The universe will always teach us, you know, they'll always provide the learning. You talked about things, red flags coming up and getting harder and harder and harder. Well, it's because we live to experience and we live to learn. So those lessons are provided on our soul's behalf. And we get those lessons all the time in business.
For sure.
The universe uses whatever relationships we have to assist us in learning. And we have to just identify. So if we just take ourselves out of the emotion, stand in observation, and then look at possibly what lessons could we be learning, we can solve problems very easily.
It's funny you say, too, because emotions are sometimes what cloud the mind the most, right? Because you really, either you get angry, you get scared, you know, like there's all these different emotions. And if you're able, I think that maybe is what covers up sometimes that red flag or that gut feeling, because your emotions take over and they mask everything else that's happening.
Absolutely. And you, as we all know, you cannot think logically if you are under too much stress. It just creates havoc and confusion in your mind.
For sure.
So then you need to go to the woods, or you need to go to the lake, and you need to clear the mind, get yourself out of that situation if at all possible. I've worked with a lot of people of different types of businesses, right from industry to restaurant business, real estate, developers, everything that you can think of, home builders, and all of the issues are innately the same. Mm-hmm. We all have the same lessons to learn, and we just need to identify that. But we need to step back. We need to look at the scenario with a sense of clarity, and then we can make the choice as we go forward.
For sure. I wanted to ask you something. Who are the people you look up to? Who are your mentors?
My spirit guides are really who I lean to. It's really, that sounds kind of corny, but it's so true. It's like, as young as I can remember, I started to look to my guides for support because they have all the answers for me. Mm-hmm. And that's really, in my own personal business, that's how I built my business. I keep going to my spiritual guides, and my decisions are made based on what they direct me. So I don't have an external or a societal mentor. And that may sound odd to people, but I really just leaned to that concept of, well, the other thing I guess pops into my head that I value is my morals and my core values. And I lean to that and notice when I'm swaying away from that. And then I believe I'm on the wrong path if I sway away from that. So my morals and values are, in a way, my mentor.
Okay. What's the biggest life lesson you've ever learned?
The biggest life lesson is that life is valuable and we should not take it for granted. We should enjoy every single moment that we can, and we should be kind to each other. We all want love. We all want acceptance. We all want to feel purpose. And when we can give that to another, or we can validate that for ourselves, then we can live a joyful life.
So I'm not going to ask you what your final thoughts are because you just gave them. So there you have it. So some of the key things to look for is to follow your gut feeling, follow that kind of flutter that happens in your stomach or anywhere in your body. It's really important to do that. It's important to take some time off and kind of clear your head, find your place of tranquility, a place to decompress, and to really listen to the inner you. How can people follow you?
People can find me on the internet at ultimatehealingconcepts.com, and they can find me under Ultimate Healing Concepts on Facebook as well. And I'm in Cookstown. My phone number is 705-291-1100, so they can reach me by phone as well.
And if people want to attain some of your services?
Absolutely. They can freely contact me, and I'm more than willing to outline anything that they are inquiring about. Questions are always welcome.
And Sheila delivers results, and that's the main thing too. And they're non-biased, which is perfect. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I hope you guys had a chance to get something out of this. Make sure that you tune in next week for The Gloves Are Off right here on TCN TV.